All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here for some positive news for the city. Joining with me today is the Secretary of Transportation, Barry Shoak, and along with Mayor Eric Papenfuss. I also have some supporters standing around the background for today's news. For decades, our city streets have been neglected, and with our financial struggles, we've fallen way behind repaving efforts. The city has barely kept up with patching our ever-growing potholes throughout the city. The condition of our roads are not only a headache for drivers, but a safety issue that needs to be addressed. I'm proud to stand with Secretary Shoak and Mayor Papenfuss, a newly formed partnership that will help tackle our immediate and long-term needs. Thanks to the passage of the transportation bill, the city will receive $10 million over the next 5 years from the state. My goal is to use this money to fix and repair some of our worst streets. It's been too long, and I know our residents have desperately wanted this. I've heard their complaints throughout my term on City Island, but couldn't help until now. I'd like now for Secretary Shoak to discuss more how we are going to move forward with this funding. Secretary Shoak.
Thank you, Representative Kim, and good afternoon. Chilly good afternoon to everyone, but not as bad as it was this morning. I want to thank Representative Kim and the mayor for being here. Mike Kaiser is my district executive who'll be working closely with the city on this. My dialogue with all the legislators as we talked about this was, what are your priorities in your district? What are issues of concern related to transportation? And as you know, Act 89, as it was passed, is going to provide a much needed infusion of funding statewide. And for every legislator, like Representative Kim, we talked about priorities. And clearly, she talked to me about the priority of here in the city. And we're pleased to partner with the city. The administration, the corporate administration is pleased to partner with the city in providing much needed funding to address transportation needs throughout the city. And while she talked about the very basic need of pothole repairs and rehabilitation of streets that have long been overdue, much like our system, we also are talking to the mayor and Representative Kim about other projects that we see as important to the city, both short-term and long-term, things we can do to invest in transportation that we know will be helpful to both moving people through the city safely and through economic development and economic sustainability of the city. Transportation is a necessary component of economic development. We recognize that, and we want to be a partner with the city, both for basic maintenance and for things that will help sustain the city long into the future. It's our capital city. We want to invest in it. We want to be a partner with the city, and we look forward to working with Representative Kim, Mayor Papenfuss, as we move forward to improving the transportation conditions for city residents. So I appreciate being here. I look forward to being out here in warmer weather when we're actually looking at construction and talking about some of the things we'll be doing together. But it's a partnership that's perhaps a little overdue, but one we're looking forward to embarking upon with the city. And I want to thank the representative for her leadership on this issue and for working with our administration on a very important piece of legislation for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Secretary. It's been great working with the new mayor, Mayor Papenfuss. We are on the same page. We are making this a priority. So the Secretary tasked the mayor to find the top 10, 15 worst streets to repair, and so Mayor Papenfuss is going to give us a little bit more details as to what will be addressed in the near future. Mayor Papenfuss.
Thank you, Representative Kim. First, let me say a great word of thanks on behalf of the city to Representative Kim for all of your hard work and leadership on this issue. This is $10 million over 5 years, $2 million a year desperately needed that's going to help Harrisburg address its most basic infrastructure needs. And it was Representative Kim's leadership that has brought this money to Harrisburg in conjunction with the Secretary's vision. And we are just thrilled to announce yet another strategic partnership that is going to help move this city forward. We've already worked with Aaron Johnson and Paul Francis at Public Works to begin compiling a list of the city's most needed repairs in terms of roads, potholes, infrastructure. We've conveyed that list to the Secretary's office. They're going to review it. Our desire is to make sure that this money is spread evenly throughout the entire city of Harrisburg, reaching into every neighborhood of the city of Harrisburg, and not just concentrated in one or two particular areas. And we're going to work closely with Representative Kim and the Secretary to make sure that we do that. This is $10 million above and beyond what is already in the city's budget. And as many of you know, we're having a budget hearing tonight, and times are tight. We have very limited resources of our own, and this is going to go a tremendously long way. And I also want to thank the Secretary very, very much for sitting down with us and talking about his vision for what the capital city could be. And I believe the Secretary shares a vision with the representative myself, which is that Harrisburg could be a shining example for the entire Commonwealth. When we look to issues of mobility and transportation and pedestrian safety and bike routes and you name it, let's make Harrisburg an example for the rest of the Commonwealth. Let's make it at the forefront of our thoughts and our planning and not have it be an afterthought. And the Secretary has already shared a variety of additional plans and ideas for how we can do just that in Harrisburg, and that is above and beyond the $10 million that we are announcing here today. So this is truly the beginning of what I think will be a tremendously collaborative, positive partnership for the future of Harrisburg when it comes to transportation and infrastructure. It's an honor to be here today with the representative and the Secretary, and we thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Mayor. If there's any questions from the media, we'd love to answer them. Portia.
It's state money. How are you going to be able to use it on non-state roads throughout the city?
Well, that's one of the issues we're just discussing with the mayor's staff. They're going to identify their priorities, and clearly they have a budget for their street system, and it includes roads that are on the state system, the federal aid system. So the $2 million that we'll be providing can be used to supplement or augment the eligible uses on state and federal roads, freeing up the local roads for them to use their dollars on other projects. So it's really a matter of us putting the $2 million in where it's eligible, and then those funds replacing city funds, and then freeing up those city funds to be used elsewhere. So clearly we'll be not violating any of our laws or regulations about where we can use our money. It's a matter of managing with the city to use the $2 million additional for them, and then freeing up those dollars elsewhere.
How soon could we see construction?
You'll see it this spring.
This spring?
Yeah, as soon as we get out with our, as they identify their priorities and we get the engineering work ready for it, I see no reason why we won't be out here this spring seeing things moving.
Have you looked over the list, or can we get a hint of? I mean, can you tell us?
I looked it over in the few seconds I just had it before I saw you. So it's something that I think. They gave us a priority list, much like we do our own programming and planning. We'll look at those priorities. We'll go back to the question earlier about how the funds can be used, what other projects we'll be doing this year, where we can free up money, and then how they can prioritize it on that. Whether they all get hit this year, some get hit next year. It's 5 years of investment, and we'll be working collaboratively with the city to make sure that we get as much of that done as quickly as we can based upon the eligible uses of our dollars.
So is it when you might be able to get the first $2 million projects done?
I don't think it'll be a $2 million project. I think we're giving basically we're making a commitment. But I think as soon as we can sit down with the city and go through their priorities, match it up with our eligible uses, see how we can free up dollars, we can start telling you here's the ones that are going to go this year, and we're gonna get on that right away.
So the process right now goes through hats and tips and all that. Things are queued up. So you will take this money on things that are queued up already?
Well, no. What we'll be doing now is again we're going to look at the $2 million as an addition beyond what would normally go through the HATS process. Okay. And what they want to do with it is, as you've heard, is use it to prioritize investments on areas of the city where they haven't been able to get to. So what we're going to have to do is sit down with their staff and say, okay, what other projects this year would there be $2 million spent of where there's federal and state eligible funds, and then we'll say we'll replace those, and then you can free that up to use the $2 million on other projects in your state. That doesn't have to get through HATS. That's city then. They're using their own dollars in the city. So it's different.
A list of decades of investment by PennDOT, like that was
It'll be-
already established. Would that be in the HATS arena, or would it be
It's
separate?
really not a HATS arena. This is going to be,
Okay.
we'll be freeing, we'll be taking the $2 million and freeing up dollars, or perhaps some of these priorities might be on state and federal eligible routes, and we'll simply be reprioritizing those this year. But it's really us with the city. HATS might be involved if there are state and federal routes involved, but if it's just city-owned streets and we're freeing up dollars, they'll make their own decisions.
Mayor, maybe due to the poor conditions of some of these roads, can you talk about maybe the complaints that you've gotten from some of our city residents about maybe what the roads have done to their car or whatever?
Sure. And I'm sure the representative has heard this as well. In going door to door, it's probably one of the top concerns and top complaints. In fact, I just came from a ribbon cutting at a business not far from here, and I told them that there was hope coming to pave that particular street. and that would be the first time in years. Basically, our infrastructure in the city is dealing with years of neglect. There has been some paving, but not nearly enough. And it extends into every neighborhood of the city of Harrisburg. And as the Secretary has said, this money is going to allow us to begin working with them very closely to determine a list of priorities. You can certainly ask the city engineer who's there. He's got copies of what we've determined are the top, some of the top priorities. It's not comprehensive yet, but there's a map, and you can get addresses and roads. And again, this money may not go directly towards that, but it may be able to free up money which we can then put towards those particular roads.
And this road, this area is on that list, I assume that's why you're able to touch on these.
That's right. This particular area, as you hear that car bumping away, is one that's been neglected for a long time.
And you were said that you guys discussed other initiatives that aren't necessarily related to road work, but other ways to help the flow of people.
Yeah. I think the Secretary has a lot of terrific ideas, and we have discussed many, and maybe he could share a few. Yeah.
I would just tell you that we're charged with looking at pedestrian and vehicular safety, and so on our state system around the Capitol complex, and as we look at egress in and out of the city, we've been looking at we have some safety issues with pedestrians around the Capitol complex. So we've been studying that and saying what can we do to improve pedestrian safety and corresponding vehicular safety around the Capitol complex. That has spawned in some concepts of what could we do with the downtown area to better have traffic flow move through the area, as well as pedestrian activity and support the businesses. Representative Kim and the mayor sat down with us and we talked about some of these concepts, gave us some other ideas. We've also been looking at bike routes east shore to west shore, and that's through the Tri-County Regional Planning Commission, a study to look at east shore to west shore connections, looking at how we could extend the bikeway and pedestrian facilities along Front Street up to Fort Hunter. So we've been studying things in and around the city for the last year, and so I think it's timely that the three of us have been working together to say, in addition to this type of repair work, what else might we be doing together in partnership that will benefit the city and benefit both the users of the system from a highway standpoint and our pedestrian and bicyclist communities. So, they're in the early stages, but as we unfold these, we'll certainly be sharing them with you. And I think the mayor and the representative, I think, gave us a lot of good ideas and input on them, and we'll continue to work with them on this.
I'd like to add to that. The trend now is that people are moving back into the cities. They call it the suburbia poverty, where people can't afford to live in the suburbs anymore. So as that trend comes to more residents here, we're going to make it biker-friendly, pedestrian-friendly with multimodal plans. That's the new trend, and that's what the residents want, to walk to work, to not have to pay crazy gas prices to get to and back from work. Also, the complaints, there have been thousands of dollars spent on repairing cars because of people going over potholes. One day I was driving, had a bad day at work, and I was just zoned out, and I went over a pothole. A really unpleasant experience, and I know I'm not the only one. That costs, $200? Insurance doesn't cover it. So we're going to be saving residents money, headaches. This is just an all-around good thing. The residents have been crying for this. They've been desperate for this, and finally, we get to deliver something.
Mayor, will you need city council approval to get to the projects that you want? And is this a collaboration, or is this kind of what the city engineers see fit the top 15 worst roads?
Well, we're going to need city council approval for the budget, which is certainly going to be discussed tonight, and maybe we'll see you there. The hearings will begin, and they may have questions about the public works budget and whatnot. When it comes to the specific areas, we certainly want city council input. We want resident input. And we have a very open process. The city engineer and our public works director, both of whom are here, are very much in touch with the community, and I think are doing their best to try and create a priority list which really reflects everyone's interest. Yeah,
Yep.
sure.
It's on the list.
That's why we're here. It's a particularly bad stretch, and it's a great place to start.
And even though downtown badly needs some repaving and whatnot, and actually, Secretary, we need to reline those streets as well. There's three lanes downtown. Out-of-towners have no idea. They think it's 2 lanes. They straddle both lanes, and it's a mess. But we don't want to just focus on downtown. As the mayor said, we want to go to Hall Manor, where we are, everywhere. Everyone deserves to drive over safe roads. Any other questions? Thank you everyone for being here.